How do you stand out in Australia's incredibly competitive new car market? Well, a catchy, memorable name is one way, and there are a few more memorable names than the Geely Starray EMI. Geely is still a relatively new brand in Australia and one you may not have heard of yet, but it's hoping that this Toyota RAV4 rival in super hybrid will change that. But is it just a catchy name, or is there some substance behind the badge? Let's find out. The new model's name, Starray EMI, stands for Emotive Intelligence, which is Geely's name for a plug-in hybrid. That pits this new edition against a wide variety of mid-size SUVs, including the RAV4, Kia Sportage and Hyundai Tucson. But more specifically, the BYD Sea-Lion 6, Chery Tiggo 7 and MG HS Super Hybrid, its direct Chinese plug-in rivals. But while Geely may be a new name to Australia, it's already a powerhouse in China, and as such, it's coming to the Australian market with a clear plan and the money to back it up. Just as it did with its first model, the all-electric EX5, Geely is taking an aggressive position with its price, with the Starray starting from just $37,490 plus on road costs, and that undercuts the BYD and the MG, although not the Chery, which offers a drive-away price of $39,990. Making the Starray an appealing value proposition. That's only for the entry-level complete variant, while the higher grade Inspire starts at $39,990 plus on-road costs, which is still really sharp pricing. Now, standard equipment for the complete includes 18-inch alloy wheels, LED headlights and taillights, keyless entry and ignition, power-adjustable front seats with heating, and an infotainment system run through a 15.4-inch display, so you're not getting skimped on equipment. But stepping up to the Inspire adds 19-inch alloy wheels, a panoramic sunroof, power tailgate, ambient interior lighting, and a 16-speaker 1,000-watt premium sound system. Now, if you want more details on the specification and pricing, make sure you read my in-depth written review at carsguide.com.au. Now, when we talk about design, we always ask the question, what's interesting about this design? Because of course it's a subjective element and you are going to make your own opinion of the car. Now, objectively, what is good about the Starray is that it has a clear, familiar resemblance to the EX5 that's already here. Both of them are quite obviously Geely's, and that I think is important. The only thing I would say about the Starray is it could have a bit more, frankly, something more interesting about it. It's fairly generic, modern, aerodynamically tuned SUV. And so instead of having sort of a, interesting face, a smiling face, it kind of is the automotive equivalent of a blank stare. In terms of the interior design, well, it's a similar story to the exterior in that it's perfectly fine, it's inoffensive, but it's also a little bit generic. I mean, again, you take the badge off, it could be any number of modern SUVs. We've got the very modern standard of the 10-inch rectangular infotainment screen. We've got this massive central touchscreen as well. I mean, let's be honest, the fact that Geely offers you the opportunity to have this little kitten in as the wallpaper, can't hate that. But just overall, like, they have done there are some design embellishments which are nice. We've got these, which you can see quite clearly in this darker version of the interior. There is a lighter version that you'll see in the video. Again, it's fine, it's inoffensive, it does a perfectly reasonable job, but again, it just doesn't have anything that sort of jumps out at you and screams, this is a Geely, this is what we're all about. So again, it ticks the boxes, it's inoffensive, and it does the job. But in terms of usability, though, I do have to say Geely has done a very good job of creating a very practical space. You've got loads of storage, cup holders, mobile charging pads, although there's only one charging pad on this side, but you can pop a second phone there, big glove box. We've got another storage space down here, door pockets, loads of space, it's great. The actual infotainment system is good, it's app-based system. You've got the Geely connected services, like I mentioned before, so you can connect things, your apps to it. You can change the wallpaper if you're not a fan of kittens, if you're, I guess, a heartless monster. So from that point of view, they've done a good job. The space is actually quite good. Obviously, this is a very high center console, which does create the secondary space, but you know, it creates, I think, there's still good room for the front seat passengers, and then we've got the second row. So back here, space is actually, again, pretty impressive for this size of SUV. This is my seating position. I've got clearance on my knees. I've got good foot room. A big part of that is there's no transmission tunnel, obviously being front wheel drive. So it actually creates a bit more of a, you know, a roomier back seat in a lot of ways. The middle seat is actually not too bad. Like, kids will happily fit in here. If you don't need to use it, well, then you've got armrest, couple of cup holders. You've got USB-C, USB-A ports. So again, the back seat, you know, plenty of headroom even with the sunroof. So, you know, overall, I think from a practicality standpoint, you know, it ticks those boxes. From a design perspective, again, it may look a little generic on the outside, but the actual, you know, execution of the design as a practical vehicle, well, then in that case, I have to give Geely credit for doing a really good job. Now, a power tailgate is a standard fit on the Starray, which is great, makes life easier. The boot itself is, it's relatively good. It's 428 litres, which is roughly on par with the BYD C-Line 6, but it is smaller than the MG HS, so it's at a bit of a disadvantage there. It's a good space, a good square floor, and underneath you have got a bit more extra storage. However, this does come at the cost of any sort of spare. There's no full size and there's no space saver, so it's just a tyre repair kit if you run into trouble. Super hybrid has become the popular term amongst the new Chinese brands for plug-in hybrid powertrains, which is what the Starray offers. Now, this applies to both the Complete and the Inspire. Specifically, Geely has developed a new non-turbocharged 1.5-litre 4-cylinder petrol engine that pairs with an electric motor for a combined output of 193 kilowatts. Now, power is sent to the front wheels only, and there are 3 driving modes: pure, hybrid, and power, so you can adjust the powertrain depending on the conditions. Now, Geely claims it has enough performance to run the 0 to 100 Ks in 8 seconds and a limited top speed of 170 kilometers an hour. The electric motor is powered by an 18.4 kilowatt hour lithium iron phosphate battery, which provides a claimed EV-only range of 83 kilometers. Fuel consumption is rated at just 2.4 litres per 100 Ks on the combined cycle. Now, it's worth noting that both of these figures are to the WLTP test cycle, not the more generous Chinese testing protocol. With a 51-litre fuel tank and the 83-kilometre EV range, Geely claims a total combined driving range of 943 kilometres. However, as always, we must point out that is not really possible to achieve that 2.4-litre claim once the battery is depleted. Now, one handy feature of these plug-in hybrids with the bigger batteries is the vehicle-to-load, or V2L functionality, which allows you to draw power from the battery to power small electrical devices, such as laptops or camping equipment.
It's clear that Geely wants to make an impression in the Australian market. It's making a strong value case. The powertrain certainly ticks a lot of boxes on paper, but how does it actually perform on the road? Well, let's say, like, the powertrain does a good job. It's a very quiet and efficient. It's got efficient performance. It's not a performance vehicle by any stretch of course, but in terms of the actual performance, it's got good pickup. It's quite smooth in how it transitions between electric and petrol power. Just overall, it feels like a well-sorted powertrain. But while it's clear that Geely is putting a lot of effort into attracting Australian customers with its value and what they're really offering, what they haven't done is really put a lot of effort into ensuring that Australian customers get the best driving experience possible. What I mean by that is they haven't done any local ride and handling optimization like that other brands are doing. Notably, GWM, as a Chinese brand, has hired a former Holden engineer. They've taken up residency at the Lang Lang Proving Grounds in Victoria, where Holden developed cars. And I think that makes a difference because, to be blunt, Australia is a unique landscape when it comes to our roads. And so, in terms of the Starray, I think there's some work that could be done in terms of making it feel more controlled and compliant on our roads. On these choppier rural roads or out of extra urban roads, it doesn't feel as tied down as it could, and particularly even in the city, when you get the road gets choppy, it does feel a bit firm. That's because Geely have given us a more of a European tune, and if anyone, if you're familiar with European cars, they tend to be set up a lot firmer because they have a better quality of road network. And so those brands that have invested in local tuning have certainly benefited, because you can feel it. It's not one of those things that you may not necessarily be too worried about steering feel or feedback, but you will notice that the ride is more comfortable and less busy, and it feels just more enjoyable to be in the car, more relaxed driving experience. So I certainly think that's one area where the Starray can improve, is just feeling a bit more comfortable and compliant over choppier roads. But all things considered, it's actually a perfectly fine car to drive. Again, a bit like the design, it's inoffensive, it's fine. It will suit buyers of this type of vehicle. It's not going to jump out and surprise you with anything outrageous. And so in that sense, I think there's a lot to like about the Starray, because it is, frankly, perfectly, it's perfectly fine and does the job you expect of a medium-sized SUV.
As for the increasingly important active safety, there's a comprehensive list that includes autonomous emergency braking, adaptive cruise control, rear cross traffic alert, lane keeping assist, amongst a host of others.
Well, it ticks all the right boxes from a safety point of view. In the real world, that's another area that, like the suspension, Geely could do a better job of fine-tuning. That's because things like the intelligent cruise control, for example, does a very nice job. It can actually steer you in the lane as long as you have a little bit of your hands on the wheel lightly. It will can sort of have a mild autonomous function. But the issue with it is that it slows dramatically if it detects any sort of curvature in the road. I'm talking a big, long, wide sweeper that could easily be taken on the freeway at 110 at the speed limit, but it will brake heavily. I mean, I'm talking, in one instance, it was over 30 kilometers an hour. It wiped off the speed, which, to be blunt, is uncomfortable. It leaves you feeling exposed to a potential accident because you are decelerating so much so quickly, and it, frankly, sort of makes the cruise control feel a bit pointless. You set a cruise control to maintain a speed, not to continually wipe speed off when you're trying to drive. So that's one area that needs attention. The other, quite frankly, is the driver attention system, which, like so many of them, is a little bit hyperactive. It tends to, I noticed it was giving a lot of signals yesterday, and I think a large part of that was because I was wearing sunglasses, and the reality is a lot of people in Australia wear sunglasses, so you're going to have to, Geely is going to have to adapt the system to meet the requirement, because frankly, I was looking out the window, I'm looking at the road, and it's distracting me, telling me, right now, it's telling me to pay attention, and I'm looking out the front windscreen. So, I'm not even wearing my sunglasses. So, I think that's another area where they need to improve these systems. And, that's not just Geely. A lot of brands need to do that. But frankly, it's one thing to tick the box, have the safety item, but it's a totally different thing to have that system work correctly. And that's a big thing that I think a lot of brands, but particularly this Starray, needs to improve.
As for the ownership credentials, Geely wants to ensure that new buyers don't get burnt by a bad after-sales experience. To that end, the company has partnered with some of Australia's biggest dealer groups to quickly expand to 47 dealers in around 6 months. And at the same time, it has built 2 parts distribution centres in Australia and has 135 service venues to ensure that if anything does go wrong with an owner's car, it can be fixed and returned as soon as possible. Servicing is annually or every 15,000 Ks, whichever comes first, and with Geely's hybrid assured servicing plan, you'll be looking to pay $1,932 over the first 5 years. Now, if you take up that offer and service with Geely, the company will also include 7 years of roadside assistance too. As for the warranty, Geely is offering a 7 years unlimited Ks for the Starray, along with an 8K warranty for the battery pack. So, is the Geely Starray EMI a memorable SUV or just a memorable name? While it has a few quirks and flaws, there is a lot to like about the Starray beyond just the name. For starters, the value it offers at this price point is excellent and it will really put pressure on its competition. While the design lacks some flair, it does have a roomy cabin with a good infotainment system, so it's family friendly and easy to live with. Yes, it could do with some more refinement with its on-road manners, but for the value it offers and the frugal engine, it will no doubt find plenty of buyers. Now, if you want to know more about the Geely Starray or any new vehicle, make sure you check out our in-depth written reviews at carsguide.com.au.